In recent days, Canada has found itself on the brink of significant economic turmoil, as tariffs threatened by U.S. President Donald Trump loom large. These tariffs, which could reach as high as 25%, have the potential to severely impact various sectors of the Canadian economy, particularly those reliant on trade with the United States. As the deadline for these tariffs approaches, Canadian politicians are emphasizing their commitment to addressing one of the primary concerns raised by the Trump administration: the flow of illegal drugs, particularly fentanyl, across borders. Since Trump's re-election in November, his administration has reiterated its intention to impose tariffs on Canadian goods, citing national security and economic competitiveness as key justifications for such measures. The looming tariffs have sent ripples of anxiety through Canadian industries, prompting political leaders to act swiftly in an attempt to mitigate the potential fallout. #the tariff announcement. Timing and impact. The threat of tariffs is not merely a routine economic measure. It represents a significant escalation in the trade tensions between the U.S. and Canada. On Trump's first day back in the Oval Office, he indicated that these tariffs could be implemented imminently, with a potential start date as soon as Saturday. This urgency has created a climate of uncertainty for Canadian businesses, which rely heavily on exports to the U.S. The sectors most likely to be affected include agriculture, manufacturing, and automotive industries. Canada is a major supplier of goods to the U.S., and any increase in tariffs would raise costs for American consumers and disrupt supply chains. The implications of such tariffs extend beyond immediate economic concerns, affecting jobs, investments, and broader economic stability within Canada. #the political response. A focus on drug policy. In response to the impending tariffs, Canadian politicians have rallied around the message that Canada is taking serious steps to address U.S. concerns regarding drug trafficking. One of the primary issues raised by Trump has been the influx of illegal drugs, particularly fentanyl, into the United States from Canada and Mexico. Fentanyl, a synthetic opioid, is significantly more potent than traditional opioids and has contributed to a public health crisis in the U.S., resulting in thousands of overdose deaths annually. To counter Trump's narrative and demonstrate that Canada is committed to addressing this issue, Canadian leaders are emphasizing their actions to curb the flow of fentanyl and other illicit drugs. This includes enhanced border security measures, increased cooperation with U.S. law enforcement agencies, and public health initiatives aimed at tackling the opioid crisis. Understanding the fentanyl crisis. The fentanyl crisis is a pressing public health issue in the United States, where overdose rates have skyrocketed in recent years. Much of the illicit fentanyl found in the U.S. is believed to be trafficked from Mexico, often with precursor chemicals sourced from China. However, the narrative that Canada is a significant source of fentanyl has gained traction in U.S. political discourse, partly fueled by Trump's administration. Canadian officials have consistently maintained that the vast majority of fentanyl entering the U.S. originates from other sources. Nevertheless, recognizing the political weight of the issue, Canada has taken steps to enhance its drug enforcement policies and border controls. This includes increasing resources for drug interdiction efforts and collaborating more closely with U.S. authorities to monitor and prevent the trafficking of dangerous substances. The importance of Canadian-U.S. relations. The economic relationship between Canada and the United States is one of the most significant in the world, characterized by deep interdependencies in trade, investment, and cultural ties. As the largest trading partner of the U.S., Canada exports billions of dollars worth of goods each year, making the health of this relationship crucial for both countries. Historically, trade negotiations and disputes have been managed through diplomatic channels, with both governments seeking to address concerns collaboratively. However, the current climate of tension, especially with the threat of tariffs looming, poses a challenge to this long-standing partnership. The potential for economic disruption on both sides underscores the need for constructive dialogue and cooperation. The tariff threat, economic and political ramifications. The imposition of tariffs could have far-reaching consequences for both Canada and the United States. For Canada, the immediate economic impact could include job losses in export-oriented industries, reduced economic growth, and increased costs for consumers. Industries such as agriculture, which relies heavily on U.S. markets, could face significant challenges as tariffs make Canadian products less competitive. From a political standpoint, the threat of tariffs serves as a tool for the Trump administration to exert pressure on Canada and Mexico. By linking tariffs to issues such as drug trafficking and migration, the administration aims to create a narrative that justifies its economic policies while appealing to its base. This approach complicates the diplomatic landscape, making it more difficult for both countries to engage in constructive negotiations. The role of Canadian politicians. In the face of potential tariffs, Canadian politicians are taking a proactive stance to reassure both the public and the U.S. government that they are committed to addressing the concerns raised by the Trump administration. By emphasizing their efforts to combat drug trafficking, they aim to demonstrate that Canada is a responsible partner in the fight against the opioid crisis. This political messaging is crucial not only for mitigating the immediate threat of tariffs, but also for maintaining public confidence in the government's ability to manage international relations. Leaders from various political parties are uniting around this issue, recognizing that a cohesive response is essential for navigating the challenges posed by the current political climate. Collaborative efforts to combat drug trafficking. Collaboration between Canada and the U.S. in addressing drug trafficking is essential for effective policy implementation. Canadian officials have engaged with their American counterparts to share intelligence, enhance border security measures, and develop joint initiatives aimed at reducing the flow of illicit drugs. In addition to law enforcement efforts, Canada is also investing in public health initiatives to tackle the underlying causes of opioid addiction. This includes expanding access to treatment, increasing harm reduction services, and implementing educational programs to raise awareness about the dangers of opioid use. By addressing both the supply and demand sides of the drug crisis, Canada aims to contribute to a more comprehensive solution. The economic landscape. Navigating uncertainty. As the threat of tariffs looms, Canadian businesses are grappling with uncertainty in the economic landscape. The potential for increased costs and disrupted supply chains raises concerns among manufacturers, exporters, and consumers alike. Companies that rely heavily on exports to the U.S. are particularly vulnerable, as any increase in tariffs could erode their competitive advantage. In this climate of uncertainty, businesses are exploring strategies to mitigate potential impacts. This may include diversifying markets, seeking alternative suppliers, and adjusting pricing strategies to account for potential tariff increases. However, such adjustments take time and resources, making it essential for policymakers to work towards a resolution that minimizes disruption. The political dynamics in the U.S. In the U.S., the political dynamics surrounding tariffs are complex and multifaceted. While Trump has been vocal about his intentions to impose tariffs, there are varying opinions among lawmakers about the appropriateness and effectiveness of such measures. Some members of Congress support the administration's approach, arguing that it is necessary to protect American jobs and industries, while others caution against the potential negative consequences for consumers and international relations. The political landscape is further complicated by the upcoming election cycle, as candidates navigate the delicate balance between addressing constituent concerns and maintaining diplomatic relations with Canada and Mexico. As public opinion shifts regarding trade and tariffs, politicians must consider the long-term implications of their stances. Public sentiment and economic impact. Public sentiment regarding tariffs is a crucial factor in shaping political responses. While some Americans may support tariffs as a means of protecting domestic industries, others may be concerned about rising prices and potential job losses in sectors affected by trade restrictions. The administration must navigate these complexities while pursuing its trade agenda. In Canada, public opinion is similarly divided. Citizens are increasingly aware of the potential economic implications of tariffs, leading to heightened concerns about job security and cost of living. As Canadian politicians emphasize their commitment to addressing drug trafficking, they must also consider how their policies resonate with the public. The future of Canada-US trade relations. The impending tariffs represent a critical moment in Canada-US trade relations. As both countries grapple with the challenges posed by tariffs and drug trafficking, the need for constructive dialogue and cooperation becomes increasingly evident. Diplomatic engagement, collaborative efforts to address shared concerns, and a commitment to maintaining strong economic ties will be essential for navigating the road ahead. The resolution of trade tensions will not only impact the immediate economic landscape, but also set the tone for future relations between Canada and the U.S. As both nations work towards finding common ground, the outcomes of these discussions will shape the trajectory of their partnership. #conclusion. Navigating the challenges ahead. In the face of looming tariffs and heightened tensions, Canada finds itself at a critical juncture in its relationship with the United States. As politicians emphasize their commitment to addressing drug trafficking and ensuring economic stability, the need for collaboration and constructive dialogue is paramount. The complexities of the current political climate require Canadian leaders to navigate challenges with foresight and strategic thinking. By prioritizing cooperation and addressing the underlying issues at play, Canada can work towards securing a more stable and prosperous future in its relationship with the U.S. As both countries confront the realities of drug trafficking, economic interdependence, and trade tensions, the importance of maintaining open lines of communication and collaborative efforts cannot be overstated. The ability to address shared challenges will not only strengthen bilateral relations, but also contribute to a more resilient North American economy. Ultimately, the decisions made in the coming days and months will shape the future of Canada-U.S. relations and set a precedent for how trade and security concerns are addressed in an increasingly interconnected world. By working together, Canada and the U.S. can forge a path towards a more secure and prosperous future for both nations.